Hey guys, welcome. It is day 126 of 366. If you're joining for the first time, my name is Dan Quayle, and I'm reading one passage a day, every day, for a year and a day, from the Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. Why? Because I hope that some of these teachings will cross the path of someone who is going to run with it and overcome some obstacles and challenges in their own lives and help change the lives of others, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we do a whole lot of good. So here we go. Day 126, October 2nd, the most valuable asset. But the wise person can lose nothing. Such a person has everything stored up for themselves, leaving nothing to fortune. Their own goods are held firm, bound in virtue, which requires nothing from chance, and therefore can be either increased or diminished. And that's from Seneca on the firmness of the wise. Some people put their money in assets, stocks, bonds, property. Others invest in relationships or accomplishments, knowing that they can draw on these things just as easily as others can draw funds from a bank account. But a third type, Seneca says, invests in themselves in being a good and wise person. Which of these assets is most immune to market fluctuations and disasters? Which is most resilient in the face of trials and tribulations? Which will never abandon you? Seneca's own life is an interesting example. He became quite wealthy as a friend of the emperor, but as Nero became more and more deranged, Seneca realized he needed to get out. He offered Nero a deal. He would give Nero all his money and return all of Nero's gifts in exchange for complete and total freedom. Ultimately, Nero rejected this offer, but Seneca left anyway, retiring in relative peace. But one day, the executioners came with their mortal decree. In that moment, what did Seneca rely on? It wasn't his money. It wasn't his friends, who, although they meant well, were a considerable source of grief and mourning. It was his virtue and inner strength. It was Seneca's most trying moment, his last and his finest. The most valuable asset. To be wise, to be wise. Philosophy is interesting because you can take. There are tried and true methods to operate throughout your life, to view the world, and ultimately it really is your perspective that makes your life. If you have a consistently negative perspective and view of the world, you're going to find those things, whether they're really there or not. One time I was driving with a friend who lost his keys at a ski resort, and he was in such a bad negative mood. All I could think about was, oh man, my keys are gone. And I said, man, the ski resort's closed. I bet you we can find them in the morning. I bet you they're there, and somebody found them. And he wanted to drive back that night, even though it was closed, and we were going to walk out on the ski slopes, hop over a fence and find these keys in a bunch of snow. Ridiculous idea, because it was an hour away. And he was such in a bad mood. He kept thinking, and he was just thinking that everything was going wrong. Everything was going wrong. And for some reason, he didn't have his license. And we get pulled over by a police officer. And I was just completely observing. And the officer just pulled us over. He's like, hey, you have a taillight out. And it was just, I was observing from afar. And he totally wouldn't have even said anything. And he probably would have been like, okay, just make sure you get that taken care of, and, you'll be on your way. And my friend's just like, I know, I'm sorry. His mind was already in that negative loop. And he said, my license, I don't have my license right now, blah, blah, blah. And he just opened that up. And the guy wasn't even going to ask for his ID. Maybe that's a long tangent. But if you're consistently looking for good, and you have good thoughts, wise thoughts, you live by philosophy, your perspective will change the way how you operate and how you navigate this way or that way throughout life. And you can live a much better life by just learning more. Learning learning the tried and true ways to wealth, prosperity, living the good life. Um, it's a great book. A lot of different philosophies out there. Self-help books have a lot of different things, and I think this is just a long tangent for tonight. But yeah, become wise. Invest in yourself. Invest in your mind, and you can do anything. You can do anything you put your mind to. All right, I'll see you tomorrow.